Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm mad. I am a former state employee, former union member, a man who for 20 years actually was collecting union dues or paying union dues, who has a state employee's retirement benefit waiting for me, not from this House, my service in here, and to the gentleman from Center County's comments, I'm insulted that he would even imply that somebody who would deny themselves a benefit such as that would turn around and try and do something manipulative with it. I've been insulted in this House and in committees. I've had my wife, my grandfather, our civil service records insulted in committees and in this House, and I'm not going to put up with that kind of behavior without it going challenged. I'd like to reiterate something that was addressed here earlier. Right now, we are digging a hole to the tune of $1.5 billion in CSRS, $2.25 billion in PSERS every year. Now, I've got a little bit of experience behind the controls of a TD-14 dozer and a Case 580B extend-a-hoe. I know about digging holes. But you don't put the equipment down in there and keep on digging. And that's what we have been doing since 2001. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not using picks and shovels. Right now, we're using drag lines. This is not a time for short-term measures. And the gentleman from Blair County is exactly right on one part of this issue. A, that this doesn't get the equipment out and start filling the hole back in. But what it does do, Senate Bill 1, is it stops us from digging further into the hole. It puts the brakes on it. Once this is done, we do have to take the advice of people like our gentleman and colleague from Blair County. We do need to start funding this. But one of the things that was addressed earlier is that this doesn't address the unfunded liability. It most certainly does. And here's how it does it. It prevents us from doing what was done in this House, what was done in the governor's office back in 2001, from ever happening again. Another comment today was that the burden needs to be put back onto the backs of the legislature. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, none of the things that have been proposed counter to this do any of that. Nothing we do with any of this legislation is going to put it on the backs of the legislature. It's going to put it on the backs of our taxpayers, the other 96% of the people in the state of Pennsylvania. No matter what we do, that 96% of the population is on the hook. And it's because of what this House, what previous governors, the last three, or the three, Ridge, Schweiker, and Rendell, it's what those gentlemen and what this House did. 33 members are still here from Act 9. And yet I sit and I listen as this discussion's going on. Well, what about my pension? Well, you know what? 33 of you impacted that, and the rest of us have to deal with it. And our taxpayers, our citizens, have to deal with it. Those are the people who pay our wages. Those are the people who those teachers and corrections officers, and I'm going to say right now, I have spoken out in committee against the carve-outs for my fellow officers, and I've had this discussion with my fellow corrections officers, and I've told them in advance that I'm against it. However, there are some people who don't have the guts to go and spend some time and talk with their constituents and find out if this really does matter to them, whether or not they're going to hold that gun as a law enforcement officer to the heads of their kids and grandkids. I'm not going to do that. Law enforcement and corrections, I've been involved since 1980. It's a calling. It's a calling. Public service is a calling. It should be a calling. But you don't go as a public servant holding a gun to the head of your kids and grandkids. Frédéric Bastiat back in the 1830s was writing about this. The law is the use of force against its citizens to compel some sort of action or another. I'm used to being on the end of being that force for the government. In this House, I will not hold a gun to the heads of my kids, grandchildren, yours, or my constituents. And anybody who is a public servant and can't abide by that, I left it back there, but I'm going to tell you right now, in Nigeria, their legislature is voting to reduce their benefits. Why don't we? Thank you.